I cannot believe that is a thing here in Australia. No way.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be counting down 10 culture shocks Brits experience in Australia.
Now, with these points, we've thought a little bit outside the box. They're not going to be the usual. They're not going to be the obvious, like the weather and the coffee and all those kind of things. Of course, they are huge culture shocks that are very well known when coming to Australia. These are some that we think are quite different to the usual.
So get yourself a drink or something to nibble on and enjoy this video. It's a little bit of a laugh, so not to be taken too seriously. Without any further ado, let's get into point number one, and that is everything getting shortened. Words like arvo, servo, Maccas, bottle. Although both countries do speak English, it can feel like learning a new language. Now, obviously, these are a given for us who have lived here for a while, but I do remember when we turned up trying to learn these words. Bottle, what's a bottle? Have not a clue. What's a servo? But in the UK, that would be a petrol station, so genuinely is like learning a brand new language. An additional point onto this would be the place names. Now, in the UK, we do also shorten place names, but to learn the place names in Australia can take a little bit of a while. Brisbane becomes Brizzy, Fremantle becomes Freo, Stradbroke became Straddy. If you're new to an area or new to a place, learning these place names is absolutely essential. But if you don't know them, the locals will be sure to tell you, what are you saying the full name? We call it this. Got to get learning. So let us know, Aussies watching, in the comment section, what is your favourite shortened Aussie word? This could be an interesting one, and we might see some that we've never seen before. We try and reply to every comment, so get them down and let us know your favourite word.
Point number two is roadside fruit and fresh seafood stalls. Now, this is very common in Australia. It is where we have been in Australia anyway. Let us know in the comments, is it common where you are in Australia? But we've gone pretty inland, an hour, 2 hours. I know that's not a lot in Australia, but you will still see pineapple stands at the side of the road, fresh lychees that have come from up north. This is a very, very rare thing to see in the UK, if any. The only similar thing I could say is sometimes when you go out to like countryside, you might see farms selling eggs, you know, out of a box at the side of the house, maybe on their land, at the front of their land. But to see seafood trucks and fresh fruit stalls is not something that you would see in the UK. It feels really tropical, or really just something that you'd expect to see out in like Indonesia, but not necessarily here in Australia.
Point number three on the list is the chip packet colours, or as we would say in the UK, the crisp packet colours. That's a whole other debate and a whole different culture point. But speaking specifically about the colours, this really threw us when we came over, as Smiths, I believe, are the Australian counterpart or the Australian version of Walkers. But in the UK, what would be original, which is blue here, is red in the UK, and that's ready salted, so that would just be a salted version. I believe cheese and onion is in a yellow packet, whereas in the UK it's in a blue packet, cheese and onion. And then salt and vinegar is in a pink packet, whereas in the UK it's in a green packet. So it's something so simple, something so benign, but it did happen where one of my favourite flavours, which isn't too common in Australia from what I've seen, which is prawn cocktail, is in the same kind of pink packet, and I picked up a salt and vinegar pack thinking it was prawn cocktail. So it's a culture difference that sometimes, if you're not thinking, just going through the shop, you can get back home and realise you've got the wrong flavour of chips / crisp when you get back home and start eating into them.
Speaking about chips / crisps, point number four is about chicken flavour being so common and on everything. Mostly in the crisp / chip section, you go there and everything's chicken flavoured. Obviously, you've got chicken salt, which is one of the most popular seasonings to put on chips, or I don't even know what else you put chicken salt on. Let us know, what do you put chicken salt on at your house? But that is super common. You don't really see flavours like paprika, which is quite a common flavour to see in the UK. I don't think I've ever seen paprika chip / crisp here in Australia.
If you're new around here and enjoying this content, look at the ratio of people who are actually subscribed to the channel. If you're not one who is subscribed, it's completely free, just means you see our videos, so get subscribing. Point number 5 on the list is that kebabs in Australia aren't just food for when you're drunk.
I cannot believe that is a thing here in Australia. No way.
No, this isn't saying that Aussies don't have a lovely kebab when they're getting back from a night out or going to the pub or going out for the evening, but in the UK, that is pretty much the only time you see people eating kebabs. Covered in sauce, not the most prettiest food to demolish in the UK, but it is a very different culture here in Australia. It wouldn't be abnormal to see late morning into the afternoon people having a kebab as a midday snack. Now, this might throw Aussies by saying this, but in the UK, it's one of the only foods I can think that you see people consuming after 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk, struggling to keep themselves up, sat there on a chair, after a very enjoyable night, I must say. But yeah, a very different way that two cultures would eat a kebab. Something silly, but it really did throw us when we saw people eating them midday.
Point number 6 is that sports culture is completely different out here in Australia compared to the UK. What I mean by that is AFL is the overriding sport as well as cricket and rugby league, whereas in the UK, football/soccer does absolutely dominate the country and, to be honest, a lot of Europe. So coming to Australia and not seeing so many people in football/soccer shirts is so confusing. And when you do see somebody out in the wild, in a Manchester United shirt, of course, that's the only shirt you should see somebody in, it's very nice to give them a little good one, love it, love the shirt.
Point number 7, we're not talking about Man City and Liverpool, but we are talking about rubbish. We are talking about the hard collection and the free-to-take culture here in Australia. I believe these are two separate things, but I've kind of labelled them into one. Hard collection days, for anybody who isn't aware or not in the country, people in Australia will often leave out kind of hard goods or like bigger goods on the front of the house to come round and collect and remove all of their kind of larger good waste without them having to go to the tip. In the UK, it is up to you to try and load up a van or get a kind of bigger vehicle or a friend who might drive one, put them into the back of the van and take them to the tip. Now, this is something that does go on in Australia as well, but the ability to put these things on your front without you having to go out of your way, and then they're taken. And on that same point, the free-to-take goods are something that is very popular out here. You do often see people maybe putting something like a dresser out at the front with a little sign, a handwritten note saying free to take. And even down to people sometimes putting fruit out. We've been to people's houses that have put coconuts on the front of the house that have been growing in the garden, and they just have a sign saying free to take, where you can just take 1 or 2 and then head away with a nice little snack or something you can upcycle.
Point number 8 is about the membership culture. Now, if you don't know what I mean by this, since being here in Australia, we have noticed that everywhere wants to sign you up to some sort of membership program. Of course, you have the option to, and I'm not just talking stores like Costco, I mean like the surf clubs, supermarkets, cafes, homeware stores, literally everywhere you go has some sort of membership program to sign you up to some sort of long-term plan. I'm guessing would benefit you in the long term, but if you did it to all of them, geez, you'd have so many. Not something that you see as much in the UK. Of course, the supermarkets do have like club card and membership points, but it's not as common to walk into, say, a pub, for example, which would be, I think, our equivalent to a surf club, and see some sort of membership program. The biggest difference about being here in Australia is, for example, Tesco, which is a supermarket in the UK, your club card you can only use at Tesco, whereas in Australia, here, your Flybuys card, which you can use in Coles, you can also use in other stores. So this is something that is definitely a big culture shock, something that we didn't expect to see, and a great way to save more on points.
The penultimate point, number 9 on the list, is getting charged extra on the weekend and public holidays. This is something that I don't think exists. Pretty much certain it doesn't exist in the UK, but the idea of going to a cafe during the week and then going at the weekend and the prices could change absolutely blew my mind. It's not something we realised until we spoke to a few of our expat friends who've lived here for a while and then turned around to us and said, what do you think about eating out on the weekend? Do you realise the difference in price? And we went, wait, what? And even for Aussies, because it is something that they're used to, they don't always pick up on it because it is just naturally part of something that they've got used to. So only when an expat who's lived in another country mentions it, did we realise, hold on a minute, that's a thing. But definitely something that we're not used to in the UK.
And the last point on the list, don't worry, we didn't forget, I bet it's been on the tip of your tongue, and that is the sausage sizzle only at Bunnings is a big deal, and don't ever say it isn't, because I tell you what, there's nothing better than on a Saturday or a Sunday heading down to Bunnings and getting your sausage sizzle, because why wouldn't you? It tastes so bloody good and cheap as chips, or cheap as a sausage sizzle, should I say. And number 3, it's also for charity, so it's a great support system that they have there. There's something, I don't know if it's the bread, is it the sauce, is it just the basicness? Comment below and let us know, what is it about a sizzle that makes it just the ultimate thing to do on the weekends for you guys? But there's nothing in the UK that's similar. The only kind of thing that's remotely similar, and it's nowhere near the same thing, is going to IKEA and maybe getting a hot dog. But it's just not the same. It's nowhere near as big of a deal. So yeah, that should have been point number 1, actually. That's very important.
But those are our 10 points. We have a few more in the pipeline. It's starting to rain, so we're going to have to wrap this video up quickly so we don't get rained off and can't make any more videos with the camera breaking. I do want to say, if you have any points that you think we should mention, get them down in the comment section and we might do a part 2 on this video. We always say that, but we're just building up our ideas and we can always come back and do 10 more points. But this rain's not getting any less, it's getting quite harsh. So thank you very much for watching, thank you for all the support, thank you to the members, flash your names up on the screen, thank you everybody. I want to say a big thank you to all the people who have bought from the merch store as well and supported us by either buying a shirt or a cap. Neither one that me and Cody have got on today, but to anybody who has supported us, thank you very much. We shall see you in the next one if we don't get washed away.
Bye!
Adios!